This comedian just got served a $27 million lawsuit while performing live. And it all started with a Lion King joke. I mean, honestly, that might be one of the craziest ways I've ever found out someone's been sued for, 8 figures. But here we are. We have essentially a comedian on stage, mid-set, crowd's laughing, everything's normal. I guess everything was just going as planned until someone walks up and hands him some legal papers for a $27 million lawsuit. And now I'm speaking from experience. Being served is terrifying. Hands down, one of the worst things to go through. But just like me being served, this was also caught on film.
I was less fortunate. What is this? What is this?
Service.
Oh, just got served. Oh, oh my God. You just...
I mean, mid-set is a crazy way to serve him, but I guess they knew he would be there. But this guy was performing at the Laugh Factory in Los Angeles, and instead of, finishing his bit, he's suddenly trying to process the fact that he's being dragged into federal court.
For those who are wondering what this is for, I did a joke about the Lion King. I don't know, you saw it? That was me, yeah.
There's a lion. Oh my God.
I'm paying for that now. This is the the Lion King.
And later on, he made a comment about the whole thing, saying that he now has gluten allergy, anxiety, and he got served. I'm now American. Honestly, welcome. Let's see. So I moved back to the States in 2018, and it took me 4 years being in the US to get sued. So he might have me beat. I don't know how long he's been here. Not like I want to make being sued a speed runnable event. That just sounds miserable. But here we are. And regardless, I mean, his comment is funny, but also he got hit with a $27 million lawsuit in front of a live audience. Again, this is a nightmare. And all of this, again, started just because of a Lion King joke. So Genasi here made an appearance on 154 Africa podcast, and during that conversation, the host brought up the Lion King, specifically the opening chant, which is, the one that everyone recognizes.
Can you do that?
Yeah, I can do it.
Do it.
So
Ready?
you sing it like Dancing Gonya Bagiti Baba.
You were way off.
Ingonyama.
All right. What does it mean?
It means, look, there's a lion. Oh my God.
You're joking. That is not what that means.
That's exactly what it means.
That's what it means. Look, there's a lion.
Oh my God.
Look, there's a lion. Oh my God.
It's a lion.
Now, whether that was delivered as a joke or came across as a serious translation is where everyone is a little bit divided. Because from one perspective, it was clearly funny. But I guess from another perspective, it was a public statement about a culturally significant piece of music presented in a way that some argue blurred the line between humor and effect. And I guess that's what turned a quick podcast moment into a $27 million legal fight. Because on March 16th, Lebohang Morake, known professionally as Lebo M, and I guess he's a known composer behind the chant, he filed a lawsuit in federal court in California seeking $27 million in damages. And I honestly can't get over how high that number is. Bro showed up to a podcast and essentially because of something he said on the podcast, which really wasn't even that bad, caused $27 million in damages? How? But I guess, okay, so the complaint says that the translation was incorrect, but also that it had been said in a way that crossed a line, and the lawsuit described Genasi's version as a fabricated, trivializing distortion. I'm actually kind of interested in seeing how far off he is, if he was even off to begin with. I just don't see him translating this song or chant as being that damaging. Even because what he said wasn't that crazy. Like, look, there's a lion. Oh, it's a lion. Like, that's not damaging. What? Like, even if it's a little bit wrong, I just can't see how this is damaging. But I guess it's also argued that the joke was presented as authoritative fact, not comedy. I don't know. It seems like the dude was just kind of doing a bit about it. I feel like the thing about this is such a Streisand effect, because even by him doing that bit on the podcast, I don't think anyone really thought anything negative about the guy who made the chant or song. Like, I was just like, oh, okay, that was the translation of it. Regardless, it's iconic. But now the dude who created this iconic chant just comes across as a massive scumbag. Every time I'm going to hear this chant now, I'm going to go, oh, that's that scumbag who sued a comedian because he vaguely translated the chant. Like, this just does not make sense. This lawsuit is so much more damaging to his career than a guy showing up on a podcast and loosely translating it, even though if it wasn't word for word correct. And the filing also says the lyrics are rooted in Zulu translation and work as a form of royal praise. So it's not meant to be taken as a literal narration kind of thing. His interpretation of the chant is that wasn't his interpretation. We got pollen season going on. His interpretation of the chant is all hail the king. We all bow down in the presence of the king. So, I mean, yeah, that is different from look, there's a lion. And I guess the lawsuit argued that making a joke out of the translation could negatively affect both his reputation and the value of the work, including royalties tied to the song. And apparently there's a lot of royalties since he's asking for $27 million following that lawsuit. So yeah, but following this lawsuit, Genasi made it clear that he intended to actually fight this case. And in a statement shared through a GoFundMe campaign created to cover his legal expenses, he described the situation as overwhelming, writing, "I am reaching out during one of the most difficult moments of my life. I was recently hit with a $27 million lawsuit. What started as a bit of humor has escalated into a devastating legal battle." Okay, question. Does anyone out here speak Zulu? If so, please let me know in the comments below what the correct translation of this text actually is. But back to the story, Genasi went on to explain the cost of defending himself was beyond his financial means. Obviously, defending yourself in a lawsuit, especially a federal lawsuit in the United States, is not cheap. Again, I am speaking from experience here. I was sued by a guy who, from what I heard, just wanted to bleed me for as much money as possible. So the legal counsel I was talking to were saying, hey, this could be on the light side, 300 grand, and it could easily go up to $1 million or maybe more, depending on how many appeals. And I'm sitting there like, oh, yeah, no, that YouTube video definitely cost me a few years of my life. Thankfully, you guys bailed me out. We all resolved it, and I ended up returning everyone's money because we didn't go to court. So my costs were very small in comparison to what I thought it was going to be. But I am now extremely interested in this case, and I hope that this guy drops the case against Genasi because, come on, we can't be suing people for making jokes. And Genasi also said the translation was always meant as a joke, and he also suggested that the attention from his podcast appearance has done the opposite of hurting the song. Instead, he said it has revived people's interest in it, which I actually agree with. I didn't think anything negative of the song or the chant after hearing Genasi's version of the translation, but now I'm thinking negative about the song or chant after the guy sued Genasi. So at this point, I mean, the case is split into two completely different narratives, with one of them saying, hey, this is harmful, and the other one saying, it was a joke, this is protected comedy. And this whole legal battle has now just started, and it seems like it's more about something personal than about the joke, I guess.
When this man first approached me, he approached me with the attitude of saying that I am disrespecting his work. And I was like, no, actually, I'm a big fan of yours. This was just a joke. And comedy has always had a way of starting a conversation. Like I told him, this is now your chance to actually educate people because now people are listening. I was actually ready to even create a video with him. Like we can actually create a video together, and after we laugh, then we can. Personally, I had no idea that it had a deeper meaning. But then the moment he called me a self-hating, that's when everything changed for me. I realized that I'm not having a conversation with somebody that actually wants to do that. This person is literally not attacking the joke, but my character.
Yeah, so from there, any possibility of resolving this outside of court might have disappeared. This does not look good. As this case picked up attention, though, things got even more confusing because at one point, a statement made by Lebo M's team said they were trying to handle this privately because they said they'd reached out to Genasi and even brought in someone to help both sides talk through things. And the message made it sound like they wanted to calm things down and actually find a solution without going to court. Now, that's a little bit vague, and I'm not sure what that actually means. Does that mean they're trying to shake him down for some money? I don't know. But then just a few days later, a completely different statement came out, and now it's telling a completely different story. So this time, Lebo M's team said they'd made several attempts to resolve this issue privately, but those efforts were ignored. And they claimed that instead of working out things behind the scenes, Genasi continued to publicly respond. Again, I'm completely speculating here. I have no idea what's going on, but could that be because they may have been trying to shake him for some money? I don't know. But a spokesperson said Lebo M has consistently chosen dignity over noise. However, the continued refusal to engage in constructive discussions leaves us with no alternative but to proceed through formal legal channels. They also suggested the public back and forth was an attempt to shape how people saw this case instead of letting it play out in court. So now we have two very different versions of what happened. One version said both sides were trying to talk things out, and the other one said those talks were ignored. And now it's going to court. I do have a question though. If Lebo is saying that Genasi is disrespecting his work, isn't he disrespecting Genasi's work by trying to sue him during a live show? Like, this just doesn't make sense. Anyway, though, where does this leave the case? Well, at this point, the whole situation comes down to one big question. Was this clearly a joke, or was it presented like real fact? Because that's what this case is going to be about, unfortunately. On one side, you have Lebo M's team saying that the translation wasn't just wrong, it was harmful. They said it was shared in a way that made people believe it was true and that it disrespected the cultural meaning behind the chant. They also claim it could hurt the value of the song and the reputation tied to it. But then on the other side, Genasi says this was always comedy. He's been performing this joke for years and that he believes people understood it as humor. He also argues that it actually brought more attention to the song, not less. But then you have the big issue at stakes here because, you know, comedy is protected in general. Jokes and satire are usually not treated as facts, but that protection depends on whether a normal person would understand it as a joke or not. So, oh boy, this is going to turn into a legal minefield, I feel like. So if the court decides most people would take this as obvious comedy, then the case would fall apart. But if the court agrees that it sounded like a real translation or something people might actually believe, then it could definitely become a serious problem for Genasi. Still, is that problem worth $27 million? I don't know. I guess we'll find out. But either way, Genasi seems to be doing what he can to fight this. At least it seems that way between the GoFundMe for his defense and the fact that, you know, he's using the line for his comedy promotions on Instagram. And honestly, I mean, I don't know if that's going to help his case or not, but it's entertaining. Also, he's selling merch. So yeah, this will be really interesting to see how it all goes. If you want my take on it, it seems like the guy who made the chant is kind of coming across as a bully here, but what do I know? I've only experienced something similar here, except I don't know. I guess the situations aren't that similar because essentially I went, hey, yeah, this guy scammed his audience. And then he went, no, I didn't. And then sued me. This guy went, hey, the chant says, look, there's a lion. And the guy went, no, it doesn't say that. It's a Zulu chant. I'm suing you for $27 million. And he went, uh-oh, I think that was maybe a gross misrepresentation. Regardless, if you're new here, feel free to subscribe, drop a like on this video. We will definitely be following this case, but I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.